I think most of the stats are, fairly familiar to, people in the room, right? So I think retail is, 10% of India's GDP. So India is already, the fourth largest, retail market in the world. So again, e-com, penetration is rising and expected to grow 6x from about 50 billion GMV to about 350 billion GMV overall. So I think here's some, just, setting the overall, context again, right? So, I mean, how have things changed over the last, 30, 40 years? So I think it's, the images are, self-explanatory largely. So I think interestingly, if you see the last, piece here, right? So the brands which were popular then are, hardly found, today, right? So something is changing in the ecosystem. So I think new categories are developing. So new products are coming into play. So there are new pricing strategies and new packaging and everything is new, right? So the larger question today is going to be, so what does this mean for DTC brands, right? So what we're going to do is, have 24, DTC founders here, share their, pearls of wisdom. And we have tried to keep it standardized with, 3 general questions. So firstly, it's going to be about, what is the brand purpose, right? So the larger topic here is, scaling from 100 billion to $1 trillion in DTC. So the larger question is, how does the brand purpose, kind of stay relevant, as companies scale 10x? And secondly, it's also about the innovation DNA. So what are founders, occupied with today in terms of, say, product and, service delivery innovation? And lastly, it's also going to be a bit about, what type of strategic playbooks, they're going to deploy. And before we get started, I would request Naveen to kind of briefly introduce himself as
well. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Naveen Joshua from Green Honchos. Wow, this is a large stage. Thank God fitness levels are quite okay. And thank God I have a co-moderator as well. Absolutely fantastic lineup of D2C founders, I think, from different categories. I think that's what I found very interesting: fashion, lifestyle, home, food and beverage, consumer packaged goods, beauty and personal care, footwear. So, I mean, we have it all at the stage. And I think we talk about the $1 billion and $1 trillion, growth path. I think that's what we'll try and hear from the group here. I think we'll need a lot of assistance to moderate this through because, yeah, otherwise it's a 100-meter race from one end to the other. I think a few more would be joining, so we've left more seats. But yeah, I mean, I think we're just happy to be at this side of such an exciting cusp for the D2C businesses where traditional retail is getting seriously challenged with a lot of innovation, a lot of usage of tech, a lot of customer at the core, a lot of product at the core, a lot of storytelling. And I hope, all of you can share some of those sneak peek hacks as to how you've done them with your brands. So yeah, that's my time as a moderator, but we'll try and facilitate at least half of them I know by name, fame, face, and the rest we'll just need some help. So Anand, should we just go by?
Yes.
I think Aashish always goes first because his name has a double A at the start. So probably from school to now, everywhere you're first on the roll call. So Aashish, myPAPERCLIP, would you like to kind of share the story, where it is, where you're finding innovative, caveats, what's going on, how you seeing this entire opportunity of the India D2C story?
As a brand, we started in 2013. So I'll basically, give a little bit about the overall perspective and then, our experiences as a brand. So personally, I feel that, covered in the last few presentations as well, that we're at the cusp of almost a change towards a very consumer-based economy. Our consumerism is kind of coming to it. So we started off with an agrarian economy, transcribed into a little bit of textile, IT, and now it's going towards the large consumerism that we see also across the West. Now, when we talk about the shift happening towards consumerism, I feel that this growth from, we can put on multiple sort of numbers to it, 1 trillion, 2 trillion, whatever it is around it. But this will be largely fueled towards brands kind of coming in. The smaller sort of unorganized sectors, players, etc. will kind of go out and will continue to go out. And brands will kind of have to take care of the overall growth and the demand that comes from the consumer standpoint. So overall, we as a company also see that that shift is happening, and that shift is going to be a decade, 2-decade long shift. As a company, what we are doing is so first of all, I run this brand called myPAPERCLIP. We are one of India's largest premium notebook brand. Started in 2013, largely trying to cater to an aspirational sort of stationery, notebook, desk essential sort of category. When we started, we were on the upper segment of, so to say, the price point, right? We started about a 395 rupee bracket for a notebook. So fairly expensive. So we see that this market overall is a very large market. The stationery market is very large. The shift is happening towards people wanting to buy consumer, or the consumer shift is happening towards more aspirational goods, right? You just don't want to walk inside a meeting with a classmate notebook or some XYZ notebook at a certain sort of income stature if you're, in that. So we're targeting that category. We've been in business, so in July we'll complete about 10 years. So deep market, I think it's 2-3 things we are focusing on when we talk about creating a brand. One, a large market. Second is it's also to some level a habit-forming product and the use, right? If you use a notebook, you won't go back. It's very hard for you to go onto tech to kind of start taking your notes and all this, so on and so forth. The third thing that we are focusing on overall is to create products that actually give you a wow factor when you take a notebook in your hand. So if you have an experience of getting a paperclip notebook in your hand, you'll get that wow factor, and that'll help you kind of come back to the brand overall. And that's where our current entire focus has been. And given the reach that we get through this, the retention that we focus on trying to build a brand over the past 10 years, the focus also, the fourth level focus that we have is towards creating a large set of distribution. So we are a slightly different than other companies probably inside the room, because we started off as a retail brand. So we were not online at all up until about 3 or 4 years back, right? So we're now in about 400 stores, we're in 10 countries. We started off with our marketplace and the D2C space about 3 or 4 years back. Currently, we're experimenting with quick commerce. So I think to summarize, the overall market is moving towards a lot of consumerism. This will be driven by brands. To build a brand, I think you have to look at a large market. You have to look at something maybe, in your sector, how can you make it habit forming to some level? Give your customer a wow factor and overall focus on your distribution. And how can you, penetrate and not shy away from different types of distributions, right? So that would be my 2 cents on, yeah.
Just to quickly recap, focus on distribution and, create an aspiration, product as well, right? So, yeah, super, thanks.
So Anand, just in terms of format, I think once every 3 or 4 speakers speak, we can open it up to questions because only that much retention is there. So if they have questions for any particular brand, they can throw it to anyone. Maybe once you finish 3 or 4. So next from Inner Sense, you've got the co-founder Abhishek Lodha. Are you here? Hi.
Hi everybody, I'm Abhishek. We are having India's first healthy organic cotton lingerie brand, being into the female innerwear segment, which is huge and very promising. Currently, I will be skipping more about the market because you, I think, already have heard enough of it. So I will give you a little insight, like what is the insight from my business which might be useful for the other people. And definitely it is going to be different from the other. So in the current D2C market, we always heard about the innovation. When we talk about innovation, then the problem of the consumer and the solution to it always come. So more or less, the problem we receive it from where? From the consumer. Their problem, their story, their challenge become founder's problem, and they started liking it and they started working on it and get to some solution for the consumer. But everybody knows that product is never made in a single day. It is a long process of continuous improvement day by day. But right now, what is happening in the race of the top line, in the race of funding, everybody is skipping this part of the core product, quality, their service industry and all that. Whereas in inner sense, what we did, we stick to our base. We tried to, at a time we made at least 8 to 9 vendors and personally visited everyone on every alternate day. So what is my insight from my business, that once you started believing in your supply chain, once you started working with your production partner, working hand in hand, getting your hand dirty, you will be able to bring out lot of innovation, lot of improvement. Usually the improvement, whenever an entrepreneur sees, they see what the customer is giving the feedback, that they need to change it or they need to improve it. But that is not only the improvement you can bring to the product, that is a customer satisfaction. But we as a D2C brand, we need to reach to the customer delight. We need, if we work with the production partner who are working in the same industry or at the lower level from years, they have a lot of technical knowledge, and with your new digital knowledge and the technical knowledge, you can add up to your product to give the customer delight. So that's why if you see a inner sense product right now, each product is having a different technicality from any of its competitor. And I can claim each of my product is totally different from the other, which is giving customer delight, not just the customer satisfaction. So summing up, here I want to say, to making a big brand, firstly focus on the product, and for focusing on the product, you need to get your hand dirty with your product partner. So always believe in that and always work towards that, not just about the funding and the top line. Thank you.
Got it. That's very interesting. Thanks. Again, just to quickly recap, it's focus on customer delight and customer insights. Super relevant. Thanks.
Next, and I think by alphabetical order, I think folks know Abhishek, Tailor and Circus, please. I think I read on the website, I think body positivity was clearly mentioned in terms of underwear for men. I would love to know a little more about that positioning.
Yeah, sure. Hi, thank you for having us here. We started working on this brand, I think, sometime in 2016. And at that time, body positivity was, I'm quoting an investor that we spoke to at the time, said, nobody wants underwear for ugly people. And that's what the idea was. And I think since then, it's really evolved into becoming a real movement. And that's really helped us in cementing our position and being able to drive that narrative of change, of inclusivity, of acceptance, and people being allowed to celebrate themselves at any size and at any shape, and that these things are, beyond a point, not really up for judgment in any way and not negotiable when it comes to comfort. Yeah?
Anand, any further questions from this business?
Got it. So anything specific on the product innovation side that you intend to cover?
I mean, we've always been trying to identify certain niche aspects in terms of trying to figure out how comfortable would somebody need the underwear to be if they had to spend long hours in a wheelchair, for example, or how comfortable would underwear need to be if you have to spend long hours driving, for example. And those are the problems that we've been trying to solve. And increasingly, we've found that the deeper that we're able to go into understanding specific needs and not focusing on a broad solution for everyone, especially something so fundamental and critical to the level of comfort that you experience, like underwear. We found that even though it might seem like markets are small and they're very niche and they're not really worth investing and are not worth really solving problems for, actually what ends up happening, and we've seen that over the years, is that you're able to build a very significant amount of credibility and loyalty that actually translates and connects the dots between the different subsections of the markets that you're catering to. And it all gets tied up together when you have an overall vision, which is just to help people rather than to sell them something.
Got it. Thanks. So just to quickly recap, it's not to be constrained by a niche, but focus on solving the customer problem. So interesting. Thanks.
So I'll bring in Agnes from Moza. Are you? Yeah, great to see you again. Also in a very interesting category that typically has been very large, 1,000 crore, regional markets. So could you just talk about, what we're trying to do with Moza in this space and a little more about the brand?
Yeah, thanks, Naveen. So Moza, we've started in 2016. When we started up Moza, we were actually solving the problem of women's bottom wear. The idea came from, the mix and match concept, where customers are buying kurtis and buying leg wear somewhere else. That's how we started. as a basic legging brand. Now we've actually evolved as a bottom wear solution across all categories. See, one good thing about starting a D2C brand is you are free from doing whatever customer needs. We identified product gaps across segments. When athleisure came in, we introduced athleisure. Now workwear is getting back in trend. We are going very strong on workwear. So we are providing us a bottom wear solution. So one of the key things which every D2C brands has to really work on is however wide the assortment is, there are few hero products which we need to focus. See, for me, even today, last 8 years, there are 3 products actually gives me 60% of business. How we can work on bringing efficiency in terms of supply chain, bring in product innovation, bring in more variety in the same product, which kinds of helps us to sustain the model. And second thing is, I come from a traditional brick and mortar retail background, so we started business, we had started with offline business, then we moved to D2C. Today, offline is about 80% business, 20% business is coming D2C. And I would happily say, even when we started D2C business, we are profitable from the day one, even in D2C channel. So we have to keep the unit economics correct across all the models to keep the business sustain all odds.
Got it. I think that's an interesting journey. I mean, starting with an offline, emphasis and, then going online. Do you would like to cover anything about, specific textile engineering innovation or something that you have done?
See, we are in fashion. Textile engineering in terms of, we've actually introduced a couple of products. We've actually introduced scented leggings. That's one we introduced. Now we'll be introducing a bottom wear with mosquito repellent, especially for a Tie 2, Tie 3 market. So it's a part of the journey. So when we grow wider, we keep taking inputs and adding new products, and we keep adding. And one of the another technology which we're investing is how do we leverage our consumer data, because we have a large distribution network of offline business. How do we bring in to leverage our D2C penetration? So we have introduced something called offline to online, which we are using, capturing data from offline to online stores. Of course, Omni is where we are investing largely to make the unit economics work much more effective for our D2C business.
Got it. Thank you. Naveen, should we turn this over to the audience for any questions?
Any questions, anyone, before we move to the next round? Yeah, please.
We have some mics there. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have a small question for Mr. Lodha. He just now talked about leveraging on the accumulated knowledge of the production partners. Okay. Now, Mr. Lodha, it may not be directly relevant to you, but I work in the food industry. Okay. So I have a small outfit. We have created a new food product. But one challenge that I really foresee is if I decide to partner with a production guy, for a contract manufacturer rather, I feel that there is a possibility that my formula or my know-how will be leaked or rather copied or whatever. How do you protect on these kind of things?
Hello. I think that is the fear you need to get over it. Because any formula, if anybody can replicate it or can, you can say like, take it from you. But at the end, if formula is with you and you are not able to make the product exactly the best quality like your vendor can make it. So you need to work with that vendor. You can sign an NDA so that at least in India, NDA, like people fear from NDA, but I never heard any litigation on NDA in the smaller and the D2C space. But all you need to do is build your own PR with that guy. Make him so comfortable that he's ready to work with you. See, I tell you a small story. I'm from Ahmedabad, and Rajkot is the factory. There was one factory in Rajkot with whom I started my first work. Out of 30 days, I traveled for almost 22 days to Rajkot, just to build my personal relationship with those guys. And after that 22 days, I was not visiting them even in 2 months, once in a 2 month also. So it's all about making your relationship. everybody has their own formula, everybody has their own technique. But when you become 1 plus 1, it will become 11. But if you are keeping it with yourself and you are thinking, I will keep everything with myself, I will do it, the manufacturing myself, then you will be end up in investing huge in the assets, but handling is also, and execution is also one of the major problem going to be. So what I will say and what I believed and I did it is the, like making the relationship with the vendors. Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? I think we'll have time for one more quick question before we go back to the founders.
Yep.
Can we have a mic here, please? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Aura, and I see there are a lot of guys from the textile industry and background. So I would personally, as a consumer, I would like to say that new materials like nanotechnology based, which are like it can be waterproof and yet sustainable and also antibacterial. So in undergarments and even shoes, a lot of technology is now coming up, and a lot of researchers are actually working on that. So I wanted to ask, like, how much do you guys actually invest in R&D versus your marketing or distribution? Like, how much actually goes into the product innovation for like completely new type of material rather than the regular cotton or hemp or jute, something like that, like, you know.
Is the question to any specific brand? Or?
Can I take up this?
Yes, anybody. It's open.
Because Inner Sense is a sustainable lingerie brand, so I would like to reply you. So at Inner Sense, what we believe, innovation is definitely there. But more than the fiber innovation, we need to innovate more into the product, more into the technicality. From since starting, all 100% we are working into the sustainable textile. We are doing organic cotton, we are doing organic cotton plus bamboo fiber, we are doing organic cotton plus modal, we are doing recycle. Recently we have just done a recycled polyester also, like the fiber made out of the plastic bottles. And soon, like in coming another 6 months, we are going to do the recycled nylon also for the swimwear. So we do, I think every company who is into the sustainable textile, they will keep on investing in the innovation for the fiber stage, on the fiber stage. But at the same time, we also need to look at the our own sustainability in the market. So because we can't just keep on every day launch a new product, new fiber. We have to improvise. We need to take a few fiber into our kitty, then need to improvise on the product and let that product foothold the market. Then we can move on the other. Like recently we launched India's first seamless garment made out of the bamboo fiber. So we keep on doing innovation, but there is not certain fixed percentage. It is more on the girls, it's more on like, I personally wanted like every female of India should wear a sustainable textile. Obviously male also, but being from female industry, talking more on female side. So like once we care about the earth, then the earth is going to care about us. That's all.
Should we move to the next set of 4? Yeah, we got 40 minutes to go. I think I think Aditya from Assembly, Aparna, Shobitam. We've got Arjun from Naagin as well, Sauce, and we got Dhiraj from Campus Sutra. Aditya, first, you with Assembly, please. I think I've known you for a long time. Lovely quality products. I've been rooting for you through the D2C. Brands. I think all of us consume D2C brands and root for each other. Your brand is definitely one of them.
Thanks for saying that, Naveen, and thanks for having me here. So yeah, I'm building, so my name is Aditya. I'm building a brand in the D2C luggage space called Assembly. We started about 3.5 years back. I think I'll probably give a sense of how our journey's been, and then we can see maybe what takeaways from there that one can take. So I think when we started, the core thesis we had was that modern travelers, people who are traveling more frequently in this generation, have started looking at luggage as more a lifestyle product than a commodity product. Because I think when you're traveling just maybe twice a year, you're okay with something which is very basic in its design form. But when you start traveling 6, 8, 10, 12 times a year, that's when you start giving more credence to design, both from a functional lens and an aesthetic lens. That you start thinking about, can it help me pack better, unpack better, pass through security transit in a more smoother way? Does it look good when I'm traveling with friends? Can I print the luggage? Can it, can it be a fresh color so that it stands out in the, in the airport carousel? So I think those were some of the thoughts that we had when we started. And we felt that a lot of the legacy brands, which have done really well for themselves, may not necessarily be picking up on newer use cases that emerge at a very value for money cost price point. So I think that's where, that's what our starting point was. And, 4 years into the journey, what we found is that, essentially the source of growth that we've seen is for 2-3 reasons. One is that, there's a very large part of the market that's unbranded. There's a large part of the market that is serving, basic use cases. So people are willing to spend 20-30% more than unbranded or mass market, luggage that's not necessarily designed for frequent travel. And so that's one source of growth that we've seen, that if you can bring innovation, which is homegrown, at the right price point, there is traction to be sought at a very cost-efficient way. I think the other source of growth is that, there are a lot of premium brands in the market, and if you can provide something which is maybe half at the cost of that, there's a lot of depth in that market, to be able to cater to. So I think from a product standpoint, that's how we have tried to create products that can serve these use cases. And on the distribution side, D2C, web store, marketplaces has been a beautiful distribution channel to be able, it's one thing to be able to innovate on products, but to be able to unlock that value at scale in a very cost-efficient way. You can't do that if you don't have digital distribution at scale so easily. So I think we're one of the fortunate categories where, web store has turned out to be great because, it's a high AOV product. So, usually the CACs are very much in control. So the web store is profitable. Marketplaces are extremely profitable because there's scarcity of high quality supply at those price points. So I think these are the 2-3 levers that we've seen, work in our favor in the early phase of building something hopefully for many decades. But that's the foundation on which we've built the brand so far. So that's how the last few years have been.
Got it. Thanks for sharing. I think just to quickly recap, focus on design-centric, innovation and value for money, proposition. So over to you, Naveen.
Yeah, I'd like to bring in Aparna from Shobitam. Are you here? Yeah, hi. So I think, a little more specific question, which is Indian ethnic fashion. And I think you've positioned it as from India, but for the globe. That I found slightly interesting. If you could just share some commentary about your thoughts on how, you have that positioned. Sure.
First off, a very good morning. Very happy to be part of this panel. I can't even see the other end of it. Quick introduction. I'm Aparna, co-founder, chief product officer at Shobitam. As you mentioned, Shobitam is in the ethnic fashion space. We are one of the fastest growing D2C ethnic fashion brands, and we serve tens of thousands of customers globally. Now, ethnic fashion, when you think about it, it is a space where, things are very archaic, right? There's hardly been any technology penetration. And when you talk of a global space, what we've really done different is brought in our rich technology stack. This industry is the second largest industry, right? After agriculture, it's the largest industry. And, the methods are very, very old. And what we've done is we are vertically integrated, completely avoiding middle people. And it's through technology, not just in the front end, but also the middle layer and back end, that makes us very accessible to a global customer base. I do want to say that, there are 5 things that we focus on that has really helped us scale. One is selection. I think we cover the length and breadth of India, unlike any other. The second is quality. We have a very, very high bar for quality. Every product goes through multiple rounds of validation. Third is authenticity. There are a lot of fake products out there, so-called silk or so-called Banarsi, so-called Kanjivarams. What we really stand by is authenticity, and all our products are Silk Mark certified. And interestingly, we have a new brand ambassador, Vaidya on board for the same reason. The other thing is the global part, a lot of the players now, when they talk of global shipping, they take really, really wrong, right? They take a week, 2 weeks, especially in this space. And what our customers really love about us is our very fast shipping. So we provide value-added services along with our products, value-added services such as blouse stitching, and ship them in as little as 2 to 5 days. And that really delights our customers. And interestingly, DHL is our #1 logistics provider. And last but not the least, we really, really obsess over our customers. I think, that's what drives repeat purchases. And, in the short time that we've been around, we've received more than 7,000 5-star reviews. So, that really speaks for us. And we also have a very high NPS of 91, which is best in class in this industry. So I think, that's what customers around the world really love about us. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. So just to quickly recap, focus on technology as the core and not just as an enabler, and focus on product quality as well. So interesting insights. Naveen? Yeah.
Yep, thanks. So next in Arjun Rastogi, Naagin sauce. Truly, I think first, truly Indian hot sauce. Interesting, we've sampled your products, great product for everyone here. But please, your story, fairly innovative space. I've read through the story that, typically it is an hot sauce, an American product with chilies from Mexico. What are we doing here in India to change that?
Yeah, thanks for setting it up. So I'll tell you a little bit about what the inspiration was. So I had the opportunity to study abroad for a little bit. I was living the typical college student lifestyle. You spend most of your money on parties, and you basically eat eggs, bread, cheese, and noodles for about 4 years, roughly. At that point in time, pretty much the only differentiator for me was the different kinds of hot sauce that you could kind of get. So we grew up going to in college, but we'd go to the local lunch truck, and then you'd see this rooster sauce there, and you'd be like, hey buddy, can I get the rooster sauce? 15 years later, you find out it's international sensation sriracha, but at the time, it's just the local thing that you have. For us, what it really was is we didn't have the ecosystem of a Maharaj coming at home and making everything fresh. And in the Indian lifestyle, you kind of have someone giving you fresh chutneys and stuff like that every single day, right? So when you don't have that ecosystem, what do? Are you doomed to always having the worst food ever? That's sort of one of the starting points from where we came in. The other one was actually just going to grocery stores and finding out that a lot of what you see is really the same thing, different brand, different color packaging, different price point, different whatever, but it's the same flavor every single time. So what we wanted to do is, and not for nothing, just we don't want to just make something for the sake of being different or for the sake of doing something unique. That's sort of pointless. Anyone can do that. But the idea was to try and make something that you felt people were going to enjoy. So if I had to make a distinction, I'd say we wanted to try and make something that we thought people would love, not just what we thought people would buy, which is what a lot of, to be fair, that's sort of you reach this maturity point in a company or your business as a whole, and that's sort of, you got to do that, right? You have to make what people are going to buy. But for us at the start, it was how do you kind of do something a little different? And that was one of the key points right there, is just Tabasco is essentially, hope there's no Tabasco people here, also don't care, but Tabasco is just vinegar, pepper, water. That's pretty horrific. It's not necessarily the best product for Indian food. It's good for a garlic bread, maybe, if you grew up on that. But what I'm trying to say is it's limiting. And I find it hard to believe, and we all found it hard to believe, that India's got 3,000 native chilies, but the vast majority of chili sauces that you have at home is just red chili sauce and green chili sauce. There's a global understanding of what chipotle is, habanero, harissa, peri peri, but nobody knows what a Sankeshwari is. No one knows what a Kantari is. And we're just okay, cool, let's unleash the nerd a little bit, have a little fun with this, and try and make products that we thought people would truly enjoy. And that was sort of the beginning of how we got into it. Since then, we've learned a million things. I think everyone on the panel would agree that there's almost nothing you can figure out by yourself that compares to the ridiculous innovation and feedback that you get from customers sometimes. Like, these guys are geniuses. Like, some of the stuff that they figure out is unbelievable, even if it makes you feel like that can't possibly be a combination for real food. When you try it, it's actually surprisingly amazing. So every day is a bit of a learning that way. I think the big change for us was to try and for it to register that India no matter how interesting you make your marketing, or no matter like how out there your name of the company might be, I think what people truly want as an economy in general, given the option, is to try and then buy. India is very much a try and buy country, and only the most outstanding value proposition on a product that people absolutely understand every element of is immune to that, perhaps. You know, so for us, what's really been changing is the more we've gotten into stores, the more we've started partnering with restaurants, the more we've kind of like, you know, it's just the passage of time that's really, and the growth in all of these other ways, like sampling, that's really made the hugest difference. It sounds pretty straightforward. I mean, food business, of course, you try it, like maybe that's what leads to more people buying, but I dare say that's, you know, something that would be effective for everybody here. Like, if I could try on pants, I'm more likely to keep it, less returns. If I could try out a mattress, I'd be more likely not to return it as well. So yeah, that's sort of been our experience.
Super, thanks for sharing. I think that's a very interesting personal problem statement that got, you know, converted into a large, you know, business today. And I think just to quickly recap, keeping your, you know, ears to the ground and trying to understand what the customer is saying essentially in terms of feedback. So, Naveen, yeah.
Bring in Dhiraj from Campus Sutra. I think one of the earlier adopters of D2C, and probably an example a lot of us state for being able to scale in youth fast fashion. How you've done it, what are your key learnings? I think we all would love to hear from you, Dhiraj.
You know, with the kind of introduction that he has given me. Yeah, we have been around. So we started our journey from a 400 square feet warehouse in a haunted building, right? We found this place in the CBD of Bangalore, which was vacant for 32 years. Nobody wanted to go there because story tha ki yaar wahan bhoot aata hai. From there, we have now built one of the biggest D2C setup in the country. We have about 150,000 square feet dispatch center. We dispatch about 40,000 orders per day. We employ more than 300 people, and we are present in about 22 countries, right? So it has been a journey, and if I have to kind of get a point or share our experience, I think the experience will be in terms of challenging the status quo. Fashion is a very, very old business, right? There is a certain way things are done. Even when we started, obviously, what used to get spoken about, or even now, when you think of fashion, you think of a celebrity, you think of Virat Kohli, you think of repeat customers, you think of, you know. But what we realized very early on, that to build a sustainable and a scalable business in fashion, it is not the front end which is going to be a differentiator. It's going to be the back end. So we took a very, very diametrically opposite view on this, that यदि इसको 500, 1000, 2000 crore का brand बनाना है, तो कोई celebrity या कोई front एक website will not do it, right? It has to be the back end. And we kind of created this entire process from scratch, rather than taking and tinkering what was already there in the fashion industry. We made about 72 changes in that supply chain of fashion. And what we got out of it was 3-4 things which have been like a key differentiator for us. So our mind to market is 21 days, right? For all of you who are from fashion, you know that usually the industry takes about 6 to 18 months to kind of, you know, turn around a good. We do it in 21 days. Our inventory turn is around 60 days. Usually it is 4 to 6 months for most of the brand. And our dead stock is less than 1%, which is like 15-20% for any other brand, right? So I think that's been our story in terms of challenging status quo. And what we have realized is to scale D2Cs, to scale businesses, you have to redefine something. You can't be doing something which everyone else is doing. You know, that will be incremental. You can create a 20, 25, 30, 50, I don't know, X number of crores brand. But if it has to be monumental, if it has to be something which is at scale, something fundamental needs to change. And once you do that, once you're able to create that engine, then Mark Zuckerberg kahan se utha, ROAS gir gaya, COVID aa gaya, offline band ho gaya, all of these things will stop mattering. Then you will be able to have an engine which is able to deliver value to your customer day in, day out. So I think Campus Sutra is not a brand. Campus Sutra is not about fashion. It is just an engine which knows what our customer segment wants, and we are able to deliver that day in, day out. It's the culture that we have created. And it's only now, very honestly, that we are realizing how powerful this engine is. Because anything that we are putting in this, the output is 2 or 3x of what it normally would be. So I think, yeah, that's our story. It's a story of going from Atma to Atmanirbhar. And in today's day and world, I'm sure everybody is looking to be Atmanirbhar with the funding winter around. So I think that's our story. If anything that you guys can take from that, I'm happy.
Super. Thanks for sharing. I think that's a very inspirational, story, and that set the bar high for, KPIs in the fashion space as well. So just to quickly recap, I think he was saying that, focus on the back end and, supply chain, get the fundamentals right. Yeah. Naagin? Yeah.
Sure. Just bring in one more brand before we open for questions. I think Ashmeer from DaMensch, please, could you share your thoughts?
Hi everyone, I'm Ashmeer. I represent DaMensch. So I have a lot of co-founders here. Anurag and Gaurav are the founders of this particular brand, started in 2018. Somewhere I thought, Aura was reading my mind, when she was asking about that question of innovation. What do you really do when you have industry behemoths who are already in the innerwear and athleisure segment? So that's, was the starting point for DaMensch, saying that how we solve that problem, saying that if you want to buy something different than what is already available in the market, what do we do? So the product innovation is actually at the base of, normally what everybody does, there's a fabric, you say you want to do a t-shirt, innerwear for that matter. What happened over here was innovation at, you can say, at the fabric level, to say that what fiber goes into it. Interesting case study, people, men as well, they also like softer things. So basically when you look at modal or Supima modal, so that was one of the turning points for DaMensch where it was really accepted very well. If you talk about the top 2 marketplaces, 50% repeat buys, and that's the word of mouth which really, kind of creates the buzz. Incidentally, it's not only the innerwear, DaMensch also has outerwear, kind of moved into some kind of, t-shirts, you can say, sustainable products. Some of the team members over here on the panel were also mentioning about using plastic as a part of the fiber. So we have 500 days statement t-shirts where, you talk about sustainability to the core. It's more about, product innovation. There's a blend of bamboo that is in the West, which, kind of thermo-regulates it and gets 2 degrees lesser than the normal temperature that anybody feels while wearing it. A lot of people have worked on de-odor, especially for the innerwear. And that's what was being worked out from a fiber perspective. So these are the aspects which DaMensch, kind of looked at from a product innovation point of view. Obviously, it's very difficult. I know, all the men over here would understand. It's very difficult specifically to speak about a brand or make them change the habit of, what they were wearing. And the Gen Zs, the millennials, and, probably, the next nomenclature that comes in. How do you get these people try something new? Nobody wants to wear the daddy's product. I'll put it that way. And that's where we're talking about saying that offer something which is different. We have created a community called We the Men. And that's all about, kind of taking the marketing perspective over there to kind of emphasize what is on offer. What do you really feel about when you wear the product? I'm wearing it, so I can definitely, vouch. There is something about product sampling. I'm sure that people, when they sample it, they'll not leave the brand. So that's about DaMensch, and I hope you can take away, something out of it, as I mentioned. Thanks.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing. Just to quickly recap, focus on product innovation to cut through the clutter. So yeah, super.
I think we can open it up for questions for this cohort of discussions before the last 20 minutes. Yeah, Mohit, Badmash.
A warm welcome to everybody here. This is Mohit from Bangalore, and I work at Badmash. My question is to Dhiraj. Yesterday, just on the table, we were having a discussion about how Campus Sutra has scaled up. and we didn't know your backstory of how you started. So when you say backend, today in my business, we focus on backend, like fix the backend leakages. So we would like to learn something that something did you do to fix your backend? So you're way ahead in the front end today.
Thank you. So we actually didn't fix it, to be very honest. We just redesigned it. Four of us who started this company, none of us come from fashion background. And in hindsight, I think that's one of the best things that happened to us. So we didn't come with any baggage ki, kapde aise bante hain, PO aise jata hai, ye quality check hota hai. We just went from scratch saying, okay, if we have to make certain clothes which, people of today's generation want and like, how do we go about designing it? We didn't go with the baggage saying कि यार shirt का lead time 30 दिन है, because shirt तो आधे घंटे में ही बनता है, right? So it was just that कि यदि products बनाने हैं on a continuous basis at scale. I very honestly believe that creating a 20, 30, 50 crore apparel brand is very easy. Anyone who is half smart can do it. The challenge is whether you can create a 1,000, 2,000 crore brand, right? For that, you need to do something which is differentiated, which is groundbreaking, which thinks from scratch, which does not do tinkering or which does not improve the supply chain. So, we just recreated it. We recreated not only the fashion backend, we also created, to some extent, the D2C backend, because there was no backend that time. In fact, a lot of service providers that we have here, in fact, owe their genesis in our office. Most of them created the product out of our office. Wouldn't name some of them, but yeah, most of them have created, looking at our process. So for us, it was all starting from scratch, just using common sense, working on the nuts and bolts of the business and doing things which makes sense at a basic level. And also, we didn't have the luxury of funding, right? We are the biggest bootstrap fashion brand in the country. So we couldn't do anything which could be solved by using money, that you throw money and it does the work for you. So it was just hard work and just doing it bit by bit, improving it on a daily basis and making it work.
Yep. Yep.
Hello, hi. My name is Aditya. I'm the owner of ready-to-cook brand called Aaj Pagao, and I would like to know how do you work on getting reviews from your customers, because I find it difficult, and that bit I would like to know, how do you get, like in food brands or in the apparel brands, how do you reach out to customer and get reviews? Thank you. Anyone can, please.
Are you on Amazon, or is this like a, okay.
We are on most of the platforms, actually.
Gotcha. So there's a couple of tools that you could definitely do. Look, like over like 3-4 years ago, you could actually reach out to customers once upon a time on Amazon, talk to them and kind of like do stuff. Ever since they cut that out, it's been a lot harder, but there's a couple of tools that you can use that kind of send out like these automatic reminders. Alternatively, they don't encourage this. Obviously, you're not supposed to put anything inside the box, but if it's on your label or if it's on something else, you could possibly try and come up with something like that. You're allowed to put in, you can't ask for 5-star reviews, you can't do that, but you can't, but I believe there's some sort of like, I think you can ask for like an honest review, like please leave us a review or something like that. Oftentimes people sort of like want some kind of gratification for doing it. I don't know if you can kind of do that. They kind of clamp down really hard. So really it's a bit of a numbers game. I know that's maybe not the answer you're looking for, but like to a large extent, it really is a numbers game. And over time, like you'll just sort of build it up. Like it's one of those where like the more reviews you have, the faster you get more reviews even after that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have a web store business as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So you'll find that, I mean, if the proportion of reviews in a marketplace could hover typically around 1%, usually that's what us as a business see. On the web store, this can go up to 6, 7, 8%. Just because you're able to nudge customers better. Shopify has this great app called Judge Me that we use, and I think a lot of brands would use. So that just allows you to nudge them through, let's say, a WhatsApp message or an interaction on email. So you'll see the proportion of reviews on the web store being significantly higher than the reviews on marketplaces. So that's how it works.
But in that process, how do you make sure that you don't annoy the customer? I mean, it can be a possibility if you continuously,
Yeah, you can't spam the customer for reviews, but if you look at Amazon also, they will check with their customer on delivery, maybe 2 days later, and maybe 14 days later, once somebody's used the product. So you will only use those 2-3 nudges, but because you can control the environment, you have the data, your mails and WhatsApp messages can be designed in a way where you can get customers to interact more than, let's say, a nudge on a marketplace.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
We have some great, you want to add there? So we've got some great founders left to represent their businesses, and we've got about 12 odd minutes. So should we push the questions right to the end, if that's okay? But yeah, Satish, you want to quickly, since you've already started.
Hello. Yeah. I just want to add one thing. See, I think, for your D2C bit, if you have to take the review, I think one of the things what you can also do is to have a little more personalized touch when you're trying to communicate with the customers. Something which we have seen when we do something like, a note from the founder or the CEO, which sort of gives a better, a little more, far more connecting impact, which would definitely, we have seen, every time we have done that, we have seen better open rates, better click-through, and there's a funnel for everything, not just for shopping. When you're looking at, interacting with the customers in a digital medium. So higher the absolute number of people coming onto your landing page of review, the higher is going to be the absolute number. Just to add to that, there's been our observation, happy customers don't have the time to leave a good review. Irate customers could possibly bring your brand down. It's only, customers who are in a state of ecstasy would possibly do that. So it's a hard bait to crack. And I think automation, personalization of some sorts, some bit of hacking, on Amazon, some of the tools and the apps, what you can use. So yeah, but I think you need to be very consistent in doing that. It's a long drawn, patient process. Sure. Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Satish, the co-founder of Joker and Witch, which I believe is, arguably India's first D2C brand in the watch category, a category which we found it quite interesting, quite challenging. Maya, my co-founder, my wife, and I started deliberating on this idea of starting a brand around watches and jewelry, watches and accessories, primarily in late 2014. And when, during at that point of time, the poster boy was apparel, which continues to be till date. Nothing was happening in the beauty space, very few things in the vertical spaces like handbags and shoes. And there was absolutely no D2C or no new age brand in the watch category. And I think, while the herd was moving in the larger or the bigger direction, we sort of chose to break or challenge the conventions, and we decided to launch the brand in the watch category. It's been a great ride till now. I think, there are a few things which we continuously harp upon, or possibly, I would say, has been an insight in hindsight. The first thing is, we have been profitable from day one, and I think the key thing for our profitability has been because of our constant, need to optimize. And I often keep getting this question to me that what is optimization? So I think what we have done is choose one variable, pick one variable and make the change and measure what the result is. Do not make changes in more than one variable and keep doing that very swiftly, right? The genesis of every startup or the DNA of every startup has to be, be nimble in what you do. And I think that's something which we did, continued, being as nimble as possible, made a lot of changes, got, better ROI every time we did something. So that's been the journey for the last 8 years. On the second part, I would say on the brand side. So the first part is on the performance side, which is commerce. Every business is technically divided into two parts, commerce and brand. So optimization is the key for, I think, driving profitability to the commerce side of any business. The second part, on the brand side, we've been bootstrapped until very recently, where we have entered a very strategic partnership or acquisition of some kind, I could say so. Till then, and I would still like to believe that we are bootstrapped. So being bootstrapped means you literally have nothing. You can only spend on ads if at all you have that money. So you can never spend on building a brand. And Maya and I have been very clear right from day one that brand takes a lot of time to build. You need to be very patient. You need to have a lot of perseverance. And I think one thing which is very key is you need to create, especially for fashion brands, you need to be Instagram first. You need to be able to create stunning visuals, stunning content, relevant content, and be extremely consistent doing that. I see sometimes some brands would possibly try to experiment too much on the brand building part, maybe spend too much on expensive mediums. And I think that sort of has a cascading effect on your cost centers across the company. So I think that's something which we were very clear. We do not want to spend much. We want to be Instagram first, build good content, pleasing content, and be consistent. And the third thing which I feel, which I strongly feel about is that for fashion brands, for a lot of brands possibly, if there's someone who has done something better, do not reinvent the wheel. So while innovation is something which is specific to few categories, few product lines, also depends on the presence of proprietary methods to be able to sort of innovate. But till, if you're a brand in a category which is not really driven by a lot of innovation, I believe, look outside. I would say so. So fashion brews in the West, it crawls at snail's pace and hits the Indian market. And I believe that for every category, there would be 2 to 3, 4, possibly 5 benchmark brands operating out from the West who are doing it much better in a much bigger scale. And I think if we can just look outward as to what's happening and to be able to get some bit of inspiration, I think that's something that's definitely helped us a lot. And I think that could help a lot of us.
Sure. Let me bring in some other folks here. We're a little short on time, but I definitely want everyone to represent themselves. Aditya Ruya from Beko, please. I think you bring in the sustainability angle as well. Please take a quick minute.
Hello. Yeah, I'll make it quick. My name is Aditya. I'm one of the co-founders of Be Eco. We are an eco-friendly and plastic-free, harmful chemical-free, sustainable brand in the home care category. Just wanted to talk about a few things here. I think we all understand from the customer side that there's a growing audience, there's a more digital-first audience. Disposable income levels are increasing. But from a supply side, from a brand side, I think the proposition, while beauty, personal care, apparel, have been go-to brands, a lot of innovation is now happening in the category which are underserved, especially if you look at home care. Recently, HUL announced that Surf Excel was a $1 billion brand now. So what we are actually seeing is that, there are trends where we look at pollution and plastic as a problem. The other side of the table is looking at it as an opportunity. So the idea for us was if we were to create a large chunk to the economy that would have happened from very strong innovation from categories that have been serving the length and breadth of India. So a large addressable market, primarily. Not just, for us, building differentiating niche wasn't the idea. The idea was to build something large, which a larger market wanted, and which was deeply penetrated in India. So, and also a lot of categories aren't very D2C focused. So even though this is a D2C summit, the idea behind is always to go where the customer is buying. For us, D2C then became a channel more in terms of branding and brand recall rather than customer acquisition, because even products and categories like laundry detergents or dishwashing liquids or bathroom cleaners aren't D2C first categories, even though a lot of India still buys them every day, probably for every of their rooms or otherwise. So the idea is for D2C founders or enablers to also think that D2C might not always be a go-to channel for D2C brands. It could also be a different marketing mix, but a large part of retail is still coming from elsewhere, while the growth on the digital first categories is much higher. So I would just leave it to the other founders who are left to speak as well. But thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You'd like to bring in Gaurav from Flow Mattress, please, from your perspective on the same.
I'm Gaurav. I'm the founder of Flow Mattress. We launched in September of 2018, and one of the things that we asked ourselves when we were launching this brand was, how can we make consumers almost feel slightly foolish for not giving us a chance, right? So we spent a fair bit of time interacting with target consumers, getting to know their pain points, and we realized that there was basically 4 things that were missing in the segment that we were playing in, right? And one was consumers wanted to save time. The process of mattress buying was quite painful before D2C came onto the scene, and so instead of having to go to 3 different shops, compare multiple different options, get thoroughly confused in the process, people could now transact with a few simple clicks on our website. 2 was we realized people wanted to save money. Where at the end of the day, we're all Indian, we all want value. And because of our direct-to-consumer distribution, we realized we could cut out all the middlemen that otherwise would inflate product costs, right? 3 was we're operating in a category where average order values are quite high. And so not everyone is comfortable investing 10, 15,000 rupees on a website without having tried the mattress before they bought it. And so we offered people a 100-night return policy. So they essentially got free insurance on their purchase. And then the last thing was we realized that the whole mattress shopping experience was traditionally quite boring. It's not an experience that people looked forward to. And so to kind of make it more fun, we looked at technology that was being used widely in the West before we had launched, which was to vacuum pack these massive mattresses into small capsules that when you cut them open, kind of expand into a full-blown mattress. And it just makes for a really fun unboxing experience. And so I think the combination of one, understanding our customers quite deeply, and we continue to do that today, and then executing on all of those insights. So saving them time, money, giving them free insurance, and making the whole process fun, I think has collectively worked to help us get to where we are.
Thank you. That is good. Can we bring in Veena, please, from Monroe Shoes? He's sitting the nearest to me, and sorry, you had to wait pretty much the longest.
I'm founder of Monroe Shoes. I started off Monroe because I used to work at Versace in New York, and every evening at Subway I would change my shoes because one pair of shoes would look very good but not comfortable, and another pair of shoes were very comfortable but ugly. And we thought, is this how women are going to navigate the world? Are they going to just keep changing shoes, right? Coming back to what Anand asked, right? Like, how do we look at innovation, right? If you look at in fashion, innovation can also be a point of conversation. So at Monroe, we launched a very innovative product which was inspired by sari. You know how sari can be worn in so many different ways. You see somebody wearing straight, you see somebody wearing Gujarati style. And we were like, can we build a product like that which women can wear it in a lot of different ways? So we created a shoe which can be worn in 5 different ways. And trust me, what that did for us, every third influencer on Instagram pinged us saying, can you please send us that product? We would like to do a DIY out of it. So I think innovation can also act as a marketing tool. And another very good innovation that came to us is, you know how fashion brands thoroughly depend on their designers to come up for merchandise mix, what is going to get launched. So it, to a large extent, depends on who the designer is and the success. But what we did is we created a data sciences-backed model to create design. And I think while innovation, we underestimate the power of it because we come from a country which has been a factory module for a longest period of time, right? But innovation, especially when thought at marketing and at decision making, can act very, very powerful for the brand.
Thank you so much. So we'll just take 3-4 minutes. We'll bring in Mohit from Truly Desi. I think everyone will be very interested to understand the niche in which you're operating and how you're seeing it as a D2C space with Truly Desi.
Right. So I'm Mohit from Truly Desi. So we are into production as well as manufacturing and selling A2 dairy products as well as organic fresh vegetables and groceries. So we started back in 2018 and with the sole purpose of providing unadulterated A2 milk to the consumers, and soon we diversified our product range into organic groceries, vegetables and fruits. So the insight which I would like to share with you all is that to build a D2C brand you need to have three things with you. So a great product, an excellent team and a world-class service to the consumer. So we kept on building new products. We started with raw milk and then we soon went into pasteurized milk, and now we have 10 different SKUs in dairy products. We have about 50 SKUs in vegetables and groceries. So we kept on innovating the products, and that's the best way of disrupting yourself. Number two, we made a very strong team, which was always aligned with our vision from day one. So, the initial 4 to 5 people which joins your company on the very first day, they are the people who can actually change the game for you in a long run. And number three, the service. So, our service has to be on point because we need to deliver milk to our consumers every day before 7 a.m. And doing the same thing every day, it gets very difficult because there could be a lot of operational challenges that can come up. We somehow built a very strong supply chain as well as we are available 24/7 for our consumers. So that's the place where we give service the most important place in a entire business.
Got it. Thanks, that's insightful. Supriya, foray is how we pronounce it, right? Could you please share some thoughts from the sustainable fashion space?
Hi, a very good morning to everyone. I would start by asking a question to you all. How many of you all know that fashion is one of the top 2 pollutants in the world? Okay, I see a few hands here. So, well, therein lies the question that, not many are aware that fashion products that we all carry, especially the accessories, they come riddled with synthetic materials. They come with problems such as not ethically sourced raw materials again. So if fashion is one of the top 2 pollutants, and the answer is clearly that why not shift to eco-friendly products? But people don't think that eco-friendly products are stylish enough. And that's where Foray comes into the picture. So at Foray, we are at the cusp of style and we are at the cusp of sustainability. We create a product which a customer is very comfortable using. So we are largely into jewelries and accessories, handbags and wallets. And we use plant-based materials like cork and banana skin. And now you may wonder that a tree-based product, what is the market for it? Well, in that lies our aha moment, because customers love it and they're surprised that the product looks like just other product that they're familiar with. Today, our men's wristband or the men's bracelet is regularly spotted on lots of Bollywood celebs, including Siddharth Malhotra, Kartik Aaryan, Arjun Rambal, and quite a few. So that is the product innovation that we've brought about, where we want customers to not feel alienated with this concept of being sustainable. So while you look the way you want to be, while you dress the way you want to be, we will take care of the sustainability part of it. So we are a PETA-approved vegan brand, and we work with more than 250 artisans globally, of which 200 are rural women. We were recently shortlisted by European Tech for contributing towards SDG 12, which is towards responsible development and production. And right now, we are also part of a cohort, which is by Greener, a TechnoServe initiative by the Visa Foundation. So that's where we have tried to bring in the technology of materials and product innovation to create a very truly innovative product. Thank you.
Thanks for that, please. Our last 2 speakers for the day. Pranav from True Native, and we've got Gulshanji from Falhari. maybe Falhari can go first. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. So, I'm Gulshan from Falhari. So, we started back in 2015. So, idea जो मुझे आया, ये नाम से आया था फलहारी. So, फलहारी दो शब्दों से बना है, फल और हरी से. तो ये फिलॉसफी है गीता की, फल की चिंता जो हरी पे छोड़ देता है वो लाइफ में एकदम फिट हो जाता है. सो इस फिटनेस सिंबल को लोगों तक पहुंचाने के लिए क्या कनेक्ट किया जाए, तो मुझे लगा नेचर, मतलब नेचर के साथ कनेक्ट करने के लिए फ्रूट्स हैं, रॉ ईटिंग है जो टोटली मिस्ड हैं, तो किसी तरह उसकी सर्विस शुरू की जाए. सो मैं अभी क्विकली थोड़ा सा समराइज़ करता हूँ कि मेरे क्या इंसाइट हैं टू स्केल ये बिजनेस. सो फलहारी इज़ प्राइमरली अ फ्रेश फ्रूट प्रोडक्ट ब्रांड. सो वी डिलीवर्स customized fruit salads, yogurt, juices, lassi, salads targeting to health goals, and more than 130 plus products freshly prepared to customers. Swiggy, Zomato, हमारी वेबसाइट, एप्लीकेशन, सब्सक्रिप्शन बेसिस पे, सो ये हम डिलीवर करते हैं. सो स्टार्टिंग में जब हम लोगों ने सर्विस शुरू करी तो एक फ्रूट बॉक्स की सर्विस शुरू करी, 5 काइंड ऑफ फ्रूट्स, हर दिन नया कॉम्बिनेशन. सो वी स्ट्रगल विद दैट सब्सक्रिप्शन मॉडल. सो पहला टेक अवे ये था कि मतलब बिकॉज ऑफ द फेयर ऑफ पेरिशेबिलिटी सारे फ्रूट्स की इन्वेंट्री नहीं रख सकते, कस्टमर्स के हाथ में नहीं छोड़ सकते कि हर दिन वो खुद कस्टमाइज़ कर ले. सो वी स्टार्टेड विद अ सेफ मॉडल की सब्सक्रिप्शन देते हैं, ठीक है, कैश हैंड में रखते हैं और 2-3 दिन की इन्वेंट्री खुद के हिसाब से मैनेज करते हैं. सो वी स्ट्रगल विद दैट. 2-3 महीने के अंदर कस्टमर बोर हो रहा है, सब्सक्रिप्शन गिव अप कर रहा है. वी स्टार्टेड फर्स्ट विद कस्टमाइजेशन. कस्टमर को खुद को अपॉर्चुनिटी दी कि खुद क्रिएट करो फ्रूट बॉक्स. सो वहाँ हम लोगों के ऊपर आफत आ गई कि अगर कस्टमाइजेशन दे दी तो 25 वैरायटी ऑफ फ्रूट्स रखने हैं, सब कुछ डायनेमिक हो जाएगा. सो उसको टैकल करने के लिए पॉइंट नंबर 2 हमने प्राइसिंग के ऊपर और प्रोडक्ट इनोवेशन के ऊपर काम किया बहुत ज़्यादा. सो अब इतने सारे फ्रूट्स की इन्वेंट्री है, सो उसे कैसे मैनेज किया जाए. तो फ्रूट की राइपनिंग स्टेज के हिसाब से प्रोडक्ट्स हम लोगों ने क्रिएट करें. फैमिलियर प्रोडक्ट्स हैं सारे, फ्रेश फ्रूट, मतलब जो कोल्ड प्रेस जूसेस है, स्मूदी बोल्स हैं, कि फ्रूट जैसे जैसे राइप होता जाए उसका बेस्ट प्रोडक्ट हम लोगों के पास हो और जो कस्टमर्स को भी पसंद आए. सो ड्यूरिंग दैट जर्नी ये समझ में आया कि फ्रूट इज़ अ शेयर मैटर ऑफ चॉइस. जनरली क्या होता है रेस्टोरेंट इंडस्ट्री या फूड इंडस्ट्री में होता है क्रिस्प मेन्यू होना चाहिए, छोटा मेन्यू कि एट स्केल, जैसे मैकडी का मेन्यू है जो फेमस मार्केट में थीसिस है. लेकिन हमारे वाले केस में वर्क करा, जितना डाइवर्सिफाई हमारा मेन्यू हुआ उतना ज़्यादा कस्टमर बाइंग और कस्टमर इंट्रैक्शन बढ़ते गए. सो जैसे जैसे हमने प्रोडक्ट पे इनोवेट किया, नई नई कैटेगरीज बिल्ड की विद लेसर अदर इन्वेंट्रीज, मतलब एक्सेप्ट फ्रूट्स, जैसे दही के साथ में एक्सपेरिमेंट करा, योगर्ट, लस्सी बन गई, स्मूदी बोल्स और ये सब तरह की चीज़ें, नट्स, सीड्स, ड्राई फ्रूट्स के मिक्सचर्स के साथ में सैलड्स टारगेटिंग टू हेल्थ गोल्स. उसके लिए इमेजेस से हम लोगों को 2019 में कोको कोला गोल्डन स्पून अवार्ड भी मिला फॉर मोस्ट एडमायर फूड एंड ग्रोसरी इनोवेशन ऑफ द ईयर. सो वहाँ वापस से एक गाड़ी अटक गई कि और स्केल नहीं हो रहा. तो प्राइसिंग, मैं यहाँ थोड़ा सा प्राइसिंग पे थोड़ा एम्फेसिस इसलिए दूंगा कि जनरली फूड इंडस्ट्री में प्राइसिंग होती है कि आपकी एफिशिएंसी क्या है किसी भी प्रोडक्ट को बनाने के लिए, और सब तरीके के प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए आप उसको कॉपी पेस्ट कर दो. लेकिन हमारे केस के अंदर बिकॉज ऑफ द पेरिशेबिलिटी ऑफ द प्रोड्यूस हमने अलग अलग फ्रूट के अलग अलग फार्मूलाज क्रिएट करे कि जिसकी ज़्यादा पेरिशेबिलिटी है वो जल्दी निकलना चाहिए, ज़्यादा वॉल्यूम निकलना चाहिए. सो बनाना का फार्मूला अलग है, मतलब टू कि मूव जल्दी फास्टर, तो उसकी स्मूदी और उसके शेक्स, वो उसकी प्राइसिंग बहुत एग्रेसिव है. रेदर वाटरमेलन जिसकी शेल्फ लाइफ 4-5 दिन है, पोमेग्रेनेट. सो प्राइसिंग बहुत मॉड्यूलेशन करके और इन्वेंट्री को किस तरह मैनेज करना है, बहुत डे टू डे डायनेमिक प्रोसीजर ऑफ प्राइसिंग कि किस लेवल का हम लोगों का प्रोक्योरमेंट हो रहा है, किस तरह की डिमांड है कंज्यूमर की ऑन अ डेली बेसिस, उस तरह से हम लोग प्राइस कर रहे हैं.
टाइम चेक प्लीज इफ दैट्स ओके.
या
सो स्पीकर लाउंज.
So this is all about Falhari.
Thank you so much. Last but not the least, we'll have to bring in Pranav from True Native.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I'm Pranav Malhotra, the founder of True Native. Won't take too much of your time, just 2 minutes of my take on the D2C channel. Having built one of the largest companies in the B2B protein segment, I have been a part of this domain for about 7 years. I have been a young entrepreneur who's been working on how we can simplify nutrition for Indian households. So technically, I believe D2C brands have a sole purpose of solving for the customer. So first takes first, I would recommend every person who's starting out a business to really research the market and really define if they're really solving a problem or if it's suiting a particular target market, because India is a very varied country. I would say, the market is a very responsive kind of environment, and listening to your customers will really enable you to build for the customer. That is what we've learned at True Native. We recently saw, we were one of the fastest brands in the country to see an acquisition with an FMCG giant, with our case being Imami Group. And for us, the key has been building for the customer. So recently we launched one of the first sugar replacers in the country. With the whole WHO, alarms on artificial sweeteners, we were able to quickly wrap around a formula wherein we were able to launch a 1:1 sugar replacer. So I would say that technically, for us as a company, we want to be solving real life food or wellness problems for the market, and I would want to cut short my speech because of the lack of time. So thank you. Have a nice day.
Much appreciated. And, there's a lot of eyes from that side. But thanks, everyone. I'm sorry if we had unequal time, but that's what we could have done here. I know there must be a lot of follow-up questions. I saw we didn't give much time, but would request if the speakers could just hang around the speakers lounge for a bit. Yeah? Yes, please.
You mentioned as to how you can secure your formulation. I have been a part of this business for a long time. So I would say a very quick hack for that is to label your raw material rather than having them sent to the manufacturer in original packaging. You could label them as per A, B, C, and then have it blended or processed at the manufacturer, so he doesn't have access to your raw materials. That is your key secret to that. Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, I mean, if speakers could be kind enough to be around the speaker lounge probably for a while, all questions can be answered there a bit. So we don't need to cut this short. I'm sure there's some great insights from some great founders. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.